Welcome to the Tuesday, March 26th edition of the Clemson Dubcast. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Basketball season is over after the second round NIT ouster at home against Wichita State. Football team, boy, it's winding down. Spring practice, another spring practice about to be in the books. Speaking of books, the Dabo's Dynasty book that came out, I guess, a little over a month ago. Appreciate all who have got their hands on that. You'll have some other opportunities to get your hands on it soon. I'm actually going to be in Anderson tonight speaking with the Anderson area Clemson Club. Also, next week, day of the spring game, April 6th, the morning of, don't know the exact hours yet, but going to be at the SO Club for a couple of hours visiting with folks, and also the book will be available there. Also hoping next week to do the podcast on site at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel, where we can hang out either in the little lobby area or over the bar, at the bar area at Tep's Bar and Cafe, where we can tell you what time we'll be there, and then you can come visit with the guest and hang out, grab a beverage, and enjoy the low-key ambiance that the Abernathy has to offer. They do great things, and they were a sponsor throughout football season, and they are hitched back onto the wagon, so very happy to have them aboard. The title sponsor of the Clemson Dubcast is Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in Greenville. Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold, both Clemson grads, huge fans. They are also responsible for those Clemson Dubcast koozies you might have seen floating around. I actually handed out plenty of those a few days ago in Spartanburg over at the Freight Yard. Really appreciate them doing that. Also, the forte of their firm is medical negligence. They represent patients and their family members in medical negligence actions. Also handle all sorts of other complex personal injury litigation. For instance, they handled the Cleveland Park rollover case, also handled the GHS infection cases. Very complex stuff that they're highly trained to do, and they're in the business to help people. They offer free consultations at Parham Smith & Archenhold, so give them a call, 864-990-4581. If you're a business owner in Clemson, Greenville, South Carolina, the Southeast, anywhere, you probably want to hear about Tandem Payment and what they have to offer. If your business accepts credit cards, you probably need to see what these guys are all about. Tandem Payment, based right here in the upstate, changing the face of payment processing, quickly becoming the most cost-effective solution for all small businesses. Tandem's program, which is based on applying a small customer service charge to each transaction, ends up saving your business up to 90% of previous processing charges. One of the owners of Tandem is a 2005 Clemson grad. Instead of entrusting the majority of your hard-earned money to someone over the phone, you can meet face-to-face with the Tandem representatives and their consultative approach. So give them a call at 864-672-1570 or online at tandempayment.com. All right, this was a fun interview did earlier today with Jock McKissic. Reached out to him really early this morning, and he, a Hollywood resident, immediately got back to me, I think at about 4:44 his time. He was extremely eager to come on and to reminisce about his days at Clemson, about Dabo, and most important, to tell us what it's like in the showbiz business. So here we go. Enjoy. All right, joined by Jock McKissic, who is in L.A. right now? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in L.A.
Okay. I tell you, I don't know where to start, and I'm coming into this kind of cold. Did a little bit of research on your endeavors, but give us the Cliff's Notes of what you're up to and life as a movie star.
Well, I'm a full-time actor now. I do some writing and producing and directing as well, independently. But, the main thing is acting. That's my passion, my true passion. And I've been living in LA, and I've been living in Hollywood now for a year, 14 months now. I moved here last February. So I've been coming back and forth to LA a good bit for the last few years, but I lived in Atlanta since 2012 because the industry is booming there too. So that's kind of where I got my start. And it's something that I always wanted to do. I knew at age 6 that I would be an actor. I had aspirations to go to the NBA. Shaquille O'Neal was my role model growing up, actually. And I wanted to kind of do everything Shaq did. You know, Shaq did movies, except for rap. I never wanted to rap. Let's clear that up. I never wanted to be a rapper. But yeah, and I kind of realized I wanted to be an actor one day. I was watching Oprah with my grandparents, my grandmother and my great-grandmother. And we all know, everybody back then watched Oprah show, So during Oprah, you either had to stay outside or you either had to sit out. There was no going in and out while Oprah was on. So this particular day, I decided to stay in and watch. And she was interviewing an actor about his upcoming movie, and she was so excited, and she was just telling him how proud she was of him. And, I just thought to myself, like, I know how much, everybody I know loves Oprah. So if Oprah is, like, super proud of this guy for doing something that I think would be fun, like, I want to do that. So I told my great-grandmother and my grandmother, I'm going to be an actor. And they were like, yeah, okay, sure. We don't think there's any actors from Alabama, and all they knew, like my great-grandmother at the time, they had, like, you remember the old floor model TVs?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had one of those.
The wood paneling?
Exactly. It weighed like 3 tons.
And you needed to adjust the vertical hold on it?
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm old enough.
They had one of those with, they had 5 channels. They had Channel 3, which was CBS, Channel 9, which was ABC, Channel 12, NBC, Channel 54, which was Fox, and then Channel 66, which was like PBS. So it's like, you're telling me you're going to be on one of these 5 channels, young man, and you're in Alabama. We don't know how likely that is. So, and just to clear it up, I've been on 4 of those channels now.
Oh, man. That's fantastic.
So yeah, my great-grandmother passed away. She didn't get a chance to see it, but my grandmother got a chance to see it. And just hearing her and how proud and how blown away she was by my first book and my first role was, it was satisfying, man. It let me know that I was doing the right thing, to continue to break down those mental barriers that, people don't think are possible. And that's kind of like one of my whys. I want people who know me or who may never heard of me a day in their life, but eventually will, to know, it doesn't really matter what situation you grow up in. Everything is possible. Maybe a little tougher to get to or to accomplish, but still possible. You just got to figure out a way to get it.
Just to unpack something you said about the present, you said Atlanta is a kind of becoming kind of up and coming in terms of the movie industry. Is that what?
Yeah. Atlanta is actually the TV and film capital of the world right now. Like, they film the most TV shows and movies in the world in Atlanta right now because they have the 35% tax credit there. So, if you go there with a $100 million movie, and you shoot it there, you shoot all of it or, a great majority of it in Georgia, 30 days after you wrap, they write you a check for $35 million. So, I mean, it's hard to beat that one, So,
wow.
Yeah, so when I moved there, when I started doing extra work in like 2011. Yeah, so when I was there then, um, it was maybe 2 or 3 studios, maybe 2 or 3, and now there's like 10 or 11. You know, they're just building them left and right because I mean the market there is just booming, and Marvel works with I can't think of their name now. I'll think of it later, but it's a studio just south of Atlanta, about 30 minutes, and Marvel shoots all of their films there. And actually, the Cathys who started Chick-fil-A,
Mm-hmm.
they own the studio that Marvel, partner with. So yeah, man, it's a lot going on in Atlanta, man, and it's one of those things that LA is the mecca. And it just is what it is. It'll always be. So like the execs, they're here and they always will be. So when you get to a point of your career like I am, like I've been blessed to build my resume up to a point now where a few people in places to make decisions know my name now. So I had to come here. LA is a place where still about 90% of the auditions are still in person, so you got to be here to audition. And a lot of the lead roles, the supporting lead roles, the bigger roles that you see on TV and movies, they're casted here. So in order to have those opportunities, most of the time, you need to be here. So that's kind of why I made the move here, a year some change ago.
All right, so your day today started really early because I sent you a direct message, I don't know, around 7 something, and you responded right away. And I guess at 4 something your time, you were getting up to go work out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm an early bird. I get up pretty early. I usually get up around 5, but today I got up around 4:30 because I wanted to do a little extra reading that I wanted to do last night, but I didn't get a chance to do. So I got up around 4:30. I read for about 30 minutes. And so my usual day, or it varies so much as an actor, but I'll get up around 5. I'll meditate for about 30 minutes, and I get up, do the morning rituals. I clean my face. Yeah, I clean my face, guys. This is something I never thought I'd do. As a man, I never thought I'd have all this face wash and exfoliation and moisturizer, toner. Yeah, I actually do those things. I'm an actor. I make my money with my face. So yeah, I do those after I meditate, and then I go to the gym, man. And after about an hour workout, hour and a half, I start my day as an actor, whatever that may entail that day. So whether it be auditions or writing, like I'm always writing, creating, stuff for myself as well now. And I'm still taking classes. I train here. And I also help other people, people who are up and coming. I also train them and teach them and help them with their taped auditions, because a lot of auditions in the Southeast are taped. About 90% of them in Atlanta are taped auditions. So here is the complete opposite. So a lot of actors who have been here their whole career, they don't really understand the art form of taping an audition, because it's completely different than going in a room. So me coming from the Atlanta market, I understand it. So it's a little easier for me to kind of coach them up on that. So yeah, I do that a good bit here too.
You said you wanted to get up and do some reading. What were you reading?
It's a book called How to Make Your Audience Fall in Love with You. And it's an actor's book, basically to, help you understand the small things that you may not think about when you're building a character, or you're performing. So it's dope, man. It's like a 200-page book. I'm on like page 105 right now. So yeah, man, it's a dope book. I try to always read different stuff. I find myself reading a lot of like positive motivation books, just in general about life, because I'm kind of a motivational guy. I do a little speaking here and there, and acting books as well. And then, just financial stuff because, I didn't grow up with a financial background. I grew up, my family didn't have much. I grew up in Alabama, and money wasn't important to us because we didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people like say, "Oh, money's not important." Yeah, because you don't have it, so of course it's not important. But just kind of educate myself on finances and things like that because the career path that I've embarked on has the ability to create a lot of wealth. So you just want to be educated and kind of grounded when that comes.
So you said you're doing some writing as well. Are you talking like screenplays?
Yeah. When I started back in 2011, a lot of people who, let me just say this. The Clemson fan base is phenomenal, bro. When I say phenomenal, I mean with a capital P, because these people know everything I've done. Like, they follow me. And I'm like, man, listen, I'm just a defensive lineman. I can only imagine what they know about C.J. Spiller, But, so I started in 2011 on a show called Necessary Roughness. And I started on that show because I met this guy named Mark Ellis. And Mark Ellis is a guy who's a sports coordinator and director. So for all the movies you can kind of name that, like huge sports movie, whether it's Any Given Sunday, Remember the Titans, Waterboy, Longest Yard. The program was his first film, and he just kind of skyrocketed from there. Coach Carter, all these movies that involve sports, and TV shows. He basically casts the players. He choreographs the stunts. And he draws up the plays to kind of fit what's going on in the script. So this man is a genius when it comes to sports. And I met him, and he was telling me, hey, I remember you from Clemson. His brother actually is like the voice of South Carolina or something.
Todd Ellis.
Todd Ellis. Yeah, it's his brother. He was like, yeah, my brother, he covers South Carolina. He was like, they remembered this story from somebody they knew that met me, and they were just telling me how delightful I was as a person. He was like, yeah, I remember you, from that story, and, I want you to come work with me. So Clemson was, responsible for my start in the industry. That's why I tell people, don't take for granted, whatever place you're at right now, because it can have a long-term effect, positive or negatively, on where you're going. So yeah, he told me he wanted me to work on the show as like a feature extra, one of the players on the team, and we did like a bunch of locker room stuff. We did some game stuff, and I kind of figured out right away that in Hollywood they don't cover defense that much. Everything's about offense. So I wanted to be an offensive lineman anytime we did anything in Hollywood. So Mark kind of let me do that, and yeah, man, that was, the rest was history. And a lot of the guys on the show, like the director and executive producer, his name was Kevin Dowling, and Macabre Brooks, who was one of the lead actors, and Greg Allen Williams, who was one of the lead actors. They all at different points kind of came to me and told me like, hey, you should consider doing this full time. Without speaking, we can just kind of tell, you have a knack for what's going on. You have a natural ability that's noticeable. And, I told each of them, this is something that I wanted to do since I was 6, but I'm playing ball right now. I was still playing arena football at the time. And, later on, once I decided to, retire from football completely and, embark on that journey, all of those guys played a huge role in kind of directing me in which way to go, as far as like classes, just figuring out how to get my auditions, and then create material. They all told me to create my own material, so that is what kind of led to me writing. I created this web series and it was called Colorblind Monologues. That's the first thing that I started to write. And I just wanted to create that. It was a comedy because I wanted to start with comedy because I just felt like comedy came easy to me, and it was just something to kind of get the creative juices flowing as a writer because it's something that I had never done. And from there, I started to write a whole bunch of stuff. So I've written several shorts, and I'll write the shorts. I'll shoot them. I'll direct them. I'll produce it. I'll star in it. All of that good stuff. I do everything except shoot it with the camera myself and edit it. I don't do those things. And that's kind of how I got my agent in the Southeast from some of my short films that I produced. Because I'm 6'7", Hollywood 6'6", whatever you want to call it. So I'm a huge guy, and we all know that from the things that we've seen on TV, a lot of the guys that are huge play a certain type of role. With the exception of Michael Clark Duncan, Forrest Whitaker, and one or two other guys that are like big guys, not your typical leading actor. You see a certain type of role. So I didn't want that because I knew I was more talented. So everybody said, well, you have to create your own material. So that's why I started writing initially, because I wanted to show the world that, I can be a leading man. I can be a dad. I can be, a teddy bear, all these things that aren't shown on a daily basis on TV from someone of my stature. So yeah, that's what started me to writing.
So I write every day. I have for 20 years. I've written several books, but I could not begin to imagine writing a screenplay. I would be clueless. Like, did you have any creative writing experience before you started this?
No, I had zero writing experience. The only writing experience I had was writing papers at Clemson for like my sociology classes, and like communication stuff. But I wanted to do theater in college, but a lot of the theater stuff kind of conflicts with the evening football practices and all of that. So that's a no-go. So once I decided to get into it, I had these ideas, and I would tell Greg Allen Williams, who was one of the actors on That Set Rough, was like, I know y'all told me I need to create my own material. I got this idea, but, I don't know how to write. And he was like, hold on. What you mean you don't know how to write? So I was like, I don't know how to write. I didn't go to school for it. I don't understand it. And he was like, well, this is what we're going to do. So he would let me see his scripts from like the day, and just study the script, study like the structure of it. And then what I would do is I would see it, I would read it, I would study it. And then when we would shoot the scenes, I would kind of look at what they did and why they did it. And I began to compare, as far as like, okay, well, when the script says this is what the actor's doing. So once you see a script and then you see it like come to life, you kind of develop ideas as a writer, like, oh, okay, well, this is what I want to portray, so I need to write this. And as far as like the structuring goes, I pretty much had to research it. There's so much material now to teach you how to like write. I read this. The first thing I read was like this book. It's called like write, like the 101 books or for dummy books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a book for dummies for like screenplays, writing screenplays for dummies or something like that. Yeah, that was one of the first books that somebody referred to me. So I read that, and basically it tells you how to build a storyline, how to build an arc. Teaches you about character building, etc. And so I just researched it for a few months, and I was like, all right, well, best way to to get better is to try it. So I just started writing stuff, and I still wouldn't consider myself like a great writer. There's people, like you say, you've done it every day for 20 plus years. I don't do it every day. I try, but I'm so busy as an actor that I don't really have the ability to do that. But I've written enough where, when I show somebody a script, they're like, okay, this is a good script. But people who write every day, I would never disrespect them by saying, oh yeah, I'm a professional writer. Like, no, I would never disrespect writers like that, but I do have great ideas. I do understand script writing, and I can take it to a professional screenwriter in this industry and have them to tweak a few things, per se. So, yeah, man, I've developed this love for writing too. Yeah.
So, do you have a process for like recording ideas? Like, do you wake up in the middle of the night? Do you have a notepad on your bedstand and you jot stuff down when you think about it? Like, how do you go through that process?
Well, I'm an old soul, I'm an old soul. I'm 32. I was born in '86, but I feel like I've been here before, as my grandmother would say. So I try to stay away from like the old stuff. So I try to be a little modern here and there. So when I get an idea, I'll voice record it on my iPhone. I'll do the voice recording. And I'll be like, yeah, it'd be dope. And I talk to myself in third person. when I listen to it, I don't know. For some odd reason, it registers better that way. I don't know. Maybe it's my ego. Who knows? But I'm like, listen, Jock, this idea would be so amazing if, it starts off with like a squirrel on the windowsill, and the squirrel jumps on the trash can, and then the squirrel jumps on the car, and that's when we reveal the character. I'll say that to myself, and then when I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is dope. Because if I don't, I'll definitely forget if I don't record it or write it down. Because we have so many ideas, and then it's never the same when you recall the idea you had if you didn't write it down or record it.
Right.
It's always watered down. So yeah, if I think of something, that's usually how I come up with most of my ideas. I'll think of something, and I'll be like, that'd be dope if, and then I'll just record it. Or if I'm watching something and I feel like it's never been done for somebody of my stature, I'm like, it'd be dope if I did that. So I'll take a basis and then create a different story around it, but same idea kind of.
Random question. Have you ever heard of that Funny Main guy from Alabama who does
I have.
Oh my gosh, that guy's hilarious. He should be in Hollywood too.
Yeah, my mom actually sent me a video of his on Facebook or something. And I was like, who is this? And she was like, yeah, he's from Alabama. I was like, oh, okay. So hopefully I'll meet him one day. He
is great. So, I'm terrible with names. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast. When you're an actor, how vital of a component is not forgetting your lines? I guess that's the answer is obvious. Oh
my God. It's so vital. Well, I'll say it like this. It depends on how good you want to be. For some people, it's not super vital to them because, in film, it's a little different from theater. Theater, there's no stop, there's no cut. You can't call for your line. You kind of just got to go with it. But, in film, you can just be like, line, and they'll feature your line, and you can just deliver it because they can go ahead and edit it. So, I've seen people do that. Not much. I'm not going to say I see it all the time, but I've seen it. When characters have a lot of dialogue, they'll call for their lines here and there. But it's usually the seasoned vets, who are like the lead of the show or the lead of the movie who have, 2 months of filming and they have a lot of dialogue. But as a supporter, I feel like it's crucial for you to be 100% off book, which means, you know the script by heart. And I feel that because if a supporting character is not off book, they don't know their lines, and your job is to support and carry the story along, and you don't know your lines, and here's our lead who has, 4 times as much dialogue as you, and they know their lines, it's going to look real bad when you're holding up the scene,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you rather not do that because you probably won't be around long. So yeah, I've always been real anal about learning my lines like from front to back. And when I study my lines, I usually study them. I have like different techniques I can do just depending on how much dialogue it is, and I'll study them. And then once I learn them, I'll get up and I'll do something. Like I'll get up and I'll sweep, and then I'll mop, or I'll wash dishes, and I'll run lines with my roommate, who's an actor as well, Patrick Walker. And yeah, because if you can run lines and not be sitting down focused on them, and you know it, then that's when you kind of know that you have it in the bag.
Do you find that your brain gets better conditioned to memorization? Like it takes you less time to memorize something now than it did a few years ago?
Absolutely. 100%. When I first started, it would probably take me like maybe, it never took me a super long time. I've always been a little better than most. But, now it doesn't take me much time at all. Like, I did audition 2 weeks ago, and it was like 8 pages of dialogue. And I was off booking like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. But when I first started, it would have taken me maybe two hours probably to remember all that. But one of the things that helped me with, remembering dialogue and, breaking down scenes, etc., was doing theater. Like I've done theater every year prior to this year. I haven't done anything this year. Probably will try to find something out here to do though. But yeah, I did a play called Mending Fences, and it was a 2-person play with Biggie and Tupac, and I played Biggie, and this was 2015, and that play changed my viewpoint and like my strategy on remembering lines, because it pushed me to another level, because it was 83 pages of dialogue, like I think 3 acts maybe, and 2 people. So, if you look at a script that's 83 pages, there's also like 27 characters. You know what I'm saying? But
that's incredible.
Yeah, for a 2-person play with 83 pages, and you have monologue after monologue after monologue after monologue, you kind of condition your brain to remember more dialogue easier. So now when I look at 7 or 8 pages, I'm just like, okay. Yeah, I can do this. As opposed to before I started doing theater, I would look at 7 or 8 pages and be like, okay, this is a lot. So yeah, it's something that definitely gets easier over time. It's like anything else. Muscle memory is the same with acting as it is with a physical sport.
What about all the concentration killers that are out there, like social media? I mean, you're on Twitter. You got all these windows up. You got all these apps. Do you have a routine for only doing that during a certain amount of time, or disconnecting during certain parts of the day, just to sort of help your brain, I guess, stay sharp?
Yeah. What I personally do now, because Apple's, kind of gave us an option to not be on social media or whatever you want to do on your phone. So I have a timer on my phone, and it's set to, right now, it's set to like an hour and a half. So once I get to an hour and a half of social media, and that's every app combined, it cuts off, and it's a time session off. And I can't use social media unless I like go in my phone and say, ignore for the day. And I always feel like an idiot if I do that. So, so yeah, it kind of keeps me in check. So that helps. And then also, I think it's one of those things when you set your mind, or you like have a schedule in your mind of things you need to do, I just do it. I'm like, all right, I got to do it. So I'll like put my phone on like airplane mode, or just leave my phone in the living room, go in my room, or vice versa, or just something like that. Leave my phone in the car. and, go to Starbucks and take my laptop or whatever I need to do to kind of just, not only social media, but text, and phone calls. Like we still have life going on too outside of social media. So people are calling, people are texting, telemarketers are texting and calling as well too now in 2019. So yeah, you got to kind of separate yourself sometimes and just kind of get it done.
Big supporter of the podcast and bigger supporter of Clemson Athletics and Clemson University is Harris Flooring America, based in Anderson, South Carolina. And they've got their footprint, I guess you could say, all over the upstate, all over Clemson. They have done work for BMW, the football operations facility, otherwise known as Dabo Land, Memorial Stadium, the Neary Center, the Greenville Drive, and of late, the McFadden Building getting a much-needed renovation that includes some pristine flooring from Harris Flooring America. They have been family-owned and operated since 1947. The owner, Scott Junkins, is a big Clemson guy. He employs Clemson folks. They offer a unique shopping experience through value in their services, developing the right product solutions for your home or business, and delivering on their promises. And can't emphasize that enough, even though it named a lot of businesses. They also serve the residential segments. For homeowners, Harris offers floor-to-ceiling design capabilities as well. So give them a call, 864-642-6183, or online at flooringamerica-anderson.com. Once you've been behind the curtain and, you see how the sausage is made, there are probably some notions that you had going in that are not true. What's the biggest myth, I guess, if there is one, about that industry that you now know of as, I guess, maybe being not true?
There's two myths. The first one is, all actors are rich. As a kid, you see somebody on TV, you're like, oh, they're all rich. Everybody who says one word is rich, a lot of adults, till this day, a lot of people, where I'm from and other places, they think I'm rich, and that's just not the case yet. You really have to pay your dues with this industry, man, because, granted, for one day of work, you make a lot more than some people make in a week or 2 weeks. But, the thing about this industry is, you may not book another role for months, some people a year. So if you get one role that, you made a few grand off of, you just made a few grand that year. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like I did a show called The Quad, where I was like heavily recurring on. I did a total of like 11 episodes in 2 seasons. And total, I made what some people probably make, in a year for like their salary, but that's over 2 years. So if you split that up, I'm in poverty, if that's the only thing I have going on. So it's like you either have to be a working actor. Like that year I worked a lot. I did like 6 different shows. So I was okay. Or you have to have other, forms of income. Like I have a company called Elevate Your Grind that I'm part owner of, and we have apparel that we sell, and I help a couple friends with like marketing stuff. So I have other streams of income coming in when acting's slow, and I work a lot as an actor. So that was one of the myths that was unfolded real quickly for me. But it's coming. I've experienced some increases in my rate, and I'm just a couple bookings away from my life changing, and being very wealthy. So it's coming, but I paid my dues also. And I've been doing it for 7 years total, and it really makes a lot of sense why a lot of people don't make it in this industry, because they give up. It's tough, hustling and grinding, and pinching pennies here and there and doing all this for years on years on years and getting all this rejection over and over. It's tough, man. So the people who stick it out, those are the people that you know by name. So, I feel like football helped me with that as well. And then the second myth is that a lot of celebrities are a-holes.
Mm-hmm.
That I found that not to be true. And at first I thought it was maybe because I'm a huge guy and they were just scared to be an a-hole to me. But I from comparing stories with people, they're like, no, that's who they were with me too. So, I've met and worked with huge names, and they were, all nice people. And I've only met maybe one or two people who were just not nice people. And I think those people are the ones that kind of messed it up for everybody. One bad apple spoils the bunch. But, most of the people I met are like phenomenal people, man. Like Oprah Winfrey and, Adam Sandler, Shaquille O'Neal. I just did a movie with Melissa McCartney. Awesome person. Sarah Jessica Parker. Molly Shannon. I'm working on a show right now called Divorce with Sarah Jessica Parker and Molly Shannon, and they're phenomenal people. Jeremy Renner, did tag with him. Ed Helms. Like, I could just go down the list and name all these people, and they were like super nice people. I'm like, man, this whole Hollywood thing is a little blown out. People say these people are like horrible people. So that definitely was one of the things that I thought was definitely a myth, and I feel like more light should be brought to the fact that there are awesome people in this industry, and we should focus more on that.
Did I read somewhere that when you befriended Adam Sandler, he told you he was a Clemson fan?
Yeah. So I did, I was Shaq's body double on that. And, I was talking to him and, Adam Sandler. And me and Adam were talking, and Mark Ellis kind of made that because Mark Ellis and Adam Sandler were good friends. And, he kind of made that introduction. Hey, Adam, this is Jock. He's a Clemson guy, et cetera, et cetera. And he was like, oh, you went to Clemson? I was like, yeah. And so I said, well, who do you cheer for? You like Southern Cal? Because I know he lives in L.A. He's like, I kind of hate him, but don't quote me on that. My nephew goes there. I was like, cool. Well, who do you like? He was like, well, it changes. I'm a big fan of college football, so it kind of changes. But I like Clemson. I like Dabo. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I like them. I like Georgia. He's named these other schools that he liked. And I was like, that's dope, man. I was like, you should go to a game. And he was like, yeah. I said, I'll take you. He's like, you will take me? I was like, yeah. I said, man, first of all, you're Adam Sandler. And second of all, I go to a game or two every year. And he was like, that'd be dope. He was like, let's connect. So he was supposed to come to like the first game of that season, but he ended up having the schedule of the film got thrown off. So they were in Africa for like a few weeks during the season. So we kind of lost connection and it didn't happen. But yeah, man, Adam is a fan. He's a fan of Dabo.
Okay. Well, when this does happen and you bring Adam Sandler to Clemson, you have one responsibility. You have one job, Jock. When he meets Dabo, you have to record it. You need to whip out your phone because that would be a treat.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely going to record that.
Okay,
yeah.
Talking about Dabo, you already mentioned that you do some motivational speaking on your Twitter bio. It says, acting is what I do. A barrier breaker is who I am. I'm wondering, your senior year was when Dabo took over halfway through the season, and then, of course, you have followed them very closely since. I'm wondering how much of an impact he has made in sort of forming, who you are and helping you as you try to break barriers?
Man, he's been a tremendous impact, man. And I would be lying if I told you he wasn't. First of all, he recruited me.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, when he came to Opelika, like I hadn't heard of Clemson until they started recruiting me. You know, this was like 03. And so yeah, 04 he came into my house and he's like this high-wired guy. He's just got so much energy. And I'm saying to myself, like, man, who is this dude and where did he come from, you know? So, my mom loves it. She's cooking collard greens and all kind of stuff. He eating it. He's like, yeah, I know I'm from Alabama. And I was like, what? You from Alabama? He's like, yeah, I'm from Birmingham. And, we started talking. And, man, once he told me his story and, where he came from and the things he had to endure to, even get a shot at playing on the field at Alabama, man, it blew me away immediately. It humbled me as a guy who was, being heavily recruited and also had been through a lot in life. And I just kind of had even ground with him. I was like, man, I can relate to this dude. It made it one of those things where you were like, these are the stories and the things that, makes you understand that we're all on an even playing field. It completely took race off the table. Like, he's a white guy, I'm a black guy, but we've been through some of the same things. So, and he was always 100%, authentic. He never felt like he had to be more than who he was to kind of recruit or, get guys. After my mom met him for 10 minutes, she already said, "Oh, you going to Clemson?" And I was like, "Mom, I'm not going to Clemson. We haven't even been there. I don't even know what that is." And she was like, "Well, we going there." I was like, "Man, I'm going to Alabama," So, yeah, man, from day one of just sitting down and learning who he was, man, he's impacted me from a young teen to, now an adult. And, just being at Clemson and just seeing this same guy, man, day in and day out, super smart guy. His memory is, I can compare it. The only person I've met whose memory is equal as good as his or better is Oprah.
Mm.
But, and that speaks volumes in itself. So, yeah, man, super smart guy. Knows everybody on the team, knows their mama, knows their daddy, knows where their daddy works at, knows who their daddy went to school with. Like, this dude was just different, and, just seeing him be persistent and consistent throughout my career. The moment he became the interim coach, man, we as a team, the energy changed. We knew. We knew what Clemson didn't know and America didn't know. We knew that Dabo Swinney was going to be the next coach at Clemson University. There was no way that he would get an opportunity for 6 or 7 games and they wouldn't keep him. Like, it just wouldn't, man. He's just an infectious guy that everybody he meets, everybody he comes in contact with, he affects them positively, because that's all he exudes is positivity. And so, yeah, my senior year was the year he got the job, and I was a defensive captain that year, so I was one of the leaders. And, so he came to me a lot, and he actually, he's a player's coach 100%. He actually asks his players, what do you want to see change? Like, what do you want to see happen here? And in the first meeting, I raised my hand. I was like, "Hey, Coach, one of the things I want to see change, man, is when we travel, I don't want to wear these team warm-ups no more. I want to wear a suit." And he was like, "Yeah, I think that'd be great. It's a business trip." So he's like, "All right, seniors, let's vote on it." So all the seniors, we raised our hand like, "Yeah, let's wear suits." So, I always joke with the guys now, like, "Hey, I'm the reason why y'all got to wear these suits." But it's became a part of the culture now. So they don't know anything else. They just know it's business. So, and that's how I felt. When I went to a game, it was business. And I want to feel like a businessman walking into the stadium. So, Yeah, man. And I knew from that day, I said, man, look, this dude is going to be the coach. And everybody on the team felt the same way. So when he became the head coach, the next thing that we knew is the culture at Clemson was going to change. And when Dabo, when Deshaun committed, and before he got to Clemson, I think it was like maybe his senior year in high school. I told one of my close friends who played at UCF. I was like, Clemson gonna win the national championship in the next few years. And he was like, man, Clemson might win on us championship. They might win the ACC. I was like, man, listen, I'm telling you, man, Coach Swinney is changing things at Clemson, man. Clemson is going to be a powerhouse. And everybody thought I was just saying that to be biased. And I'm like, man, I'm not a biased guy. You know what I'm saying? If we were just a 9-win team, I would tell you we're a 9-win team. But no, Clemson is going to be in the national championship in the next few years. And now everybody was like, man, you're right. You're right about Coach Dabo, bro. You're right. And I was like, man, I'm just telling you, man, it's just something about him, man. They make one guy like that every 15 years, you know. So for his 15-year, range, it's him. So, yeah, man, he's definitely affected me positively, like absolutely a lot. And even after I graduated and left Clemson, he welcomes me back with open arms. Anything he can do for me, he'll do it. He reaches out from time to time. He send me a text, just motivating me with. And he's the emoji king, by the way.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, if he says, "Hey, Jock, how you doing?" It'll be like 17 smiley faces, thumbs up, soccer balls, golf balls. I'm like, Coach, why are you putting soccer balls in our text? Neither one of us knows anything about soccer. So he's the emoji king, man. He reaches out a lot. We talk often, and yeah, man, he's just is who he is. Some people, they change from depending on whatever situation they're in, but that's not him. So that's why he's had the success that he's had, man, because he's duplicated himself. One of the things that we have to do as good people is duplicate ourselves, figure out a way to duplicate ourselves. So he's recruited a lot of Dabo Swinneys, you know what I'm saying? So that's why Clemson is what it is.
What part of the culture needed changing the most back in mid 2008?
Just accountability. That I feel like that was the biggest thing that we lacked prior to was the accountability and being all in. We had a few guys who maybe weren't all in just because of injuries or maybe differences they had with coaches. But yeah. So immediately when he came in with the all in slogan my senior year, we were like, he asked us. He said, "Look, guys, we're going to turn this season around. We're going to go to a great bowl, et cetera, et cetera. But, all you guys have to be all in." And I mean all in. Are you guys all in? And we were like, we looked around at each other and I'm like, yeah, Coach, I'm all in. And then there, next couple leaders stood up, yeah, we all in. Then everybody, they're like, yeah, we all in. So it was like just an immediate change in culture. Like, everybody has to be 100% all in. Simple slogan, but the best thing you could have ever did for Clemson. So it was just a matter of being committed and, being accountable and being held accountable for, what you do wrong or what you're not doing to, your full, capability.
You mentioned his memory. Is there an example that you can share that where it hits you? Like, what in the world? How does he remember this?
If I see him right now, he'll say, and somebody else is standing next to him, he'll be like, "Man, let me tell you, this boy, J50 came a long way. He's a movie star now. I went down to Opelika, Alabama. I got off the exit 62.
Holy crap.
We went into that little apartment. His mom was cooking. She had on a red t-shirt." He'll just start saying all these details that I don't remember about myself until he says them. And he'll just rattle off. And at first, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm just one of Dabo's favorite guys. which, off the record. Now we can leave it on the record because somebody reading it needs to hear it or see it. I think I'm one of his favorites, but he's done this for everybody, So he'll be saying this about other people. And I'm like, man, this dude's memory is just crazy. And I go back every year to work at least one camp during the summer. And we do words of wisdom, with all the alums and like some of the current guys. And before he brings them up, he introduces them. And he'll say their high school, like how much they weighed in high school, what they major in. He'll talk about their parents. He talk about, like, he has these stories for, like, every single person that he knows. And it's like, I'm like, this dude is a walking Google. His memory is just insane, man. And, I compared him to Oprah from that aspect because I worked with Oprah in 2015 on this show called Greenleaf that she produces. And my scene was with her. So this was like only the second time in my life I've been starstruck. The first time was with Shaq when I worked with him on Blended with Adam Sandler because, like I told you, he's my idol growing up. So anyway, I'm on set, and I'm like, man, this is Oprah Winfrey. She's the reason why it all started, And so I'm sitting on this couch while they're setting up the lights, and she walks over and sits down beside me, and I'm like, should I say anything? Like, I want to tell her, but this is Oprah. She might not want to talk to me, Again, because I've heard all these horror stories about people in entertainment. So, So finally, I lean over and I'm like, hey, Miss Winfrey. And she's like, hey, baby. And I said, I just want to let you know that it's a blessing to be on set with you because, as a child, I told her the whole story about my grandparents and how we watched the show and how, I kind of discovered I want to be an actor through her show. And, she looked at me and she said, I appreciate you for telling me that. That is such a blessing to me to hear that story. And I just want to let you know that it's a blessing to be on set with you. You're a talented young man. And, she was just telling me this stuff. And she said, we need to get a picture for your grandmother before we go. And I was like, all right, cool. So then the directors call us up. We do the scene, 100 times, however many times we did it. Hollywood, we do it a lot of times. So after we wrapped the scene, her security came in, they escorted out. She, hey, said, see you later, everybody. And when she was leaving, I was like, man, I forgot to get the picture. So fast forward to a year and a half later, I get casted to be in this movie with her called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And we walk into the table read, and, she's the lead of the movie, but I'm not really thinking she's going to be there for whatever reason. So I walk into the table read, I turn the corner, and she's at the table making some tea. And she looks up, and she's like, Kenny! Because that was my name on Greenleaf. And she's like, Kenny! And I'm like, hey, Miss Winfrey, So she walks over to me and she like hugs me and she's like, how have you been? And I'm like, I've been great. And she says, yeah, how's your grandmother? How's your mom? Like, we still have to get the picture for your grandmother.
Wow.
And when she said that, I was like, how did she remember, let alone remember my grandma? How does she remember me? So we did one scene together. Oprah Winfrey meets a million people a year, So she was like, come on, let's take a selfie. So we took the selfie, and she was like, you make sure you send this to your grandmother or show it to her when you see her in person. And she said, I just want to motivate you. And what she said, now I just want to inspire you by telling you that you're going to be a star. So just keep going. She said, I watched everything. I seen your audition. And I just feel like you're going to be a star in this industry. So just keep going no matter what is going on. Just keep going. And I was just like blown away. So I'm just standing there in tears, like listening to Oprah Winfrey talk to me.
That's incredible.
That's the reason why I compare Dabo's memory to Oprah's, because I mean they remember stuff that nobody else on earth will remember. Like, and it's remarkable, man. I like it.
I mean, like the average person, in the course of one day, you encounter maybe 12 people, and have conversations. Whereas somebody like Dabo or Oprah, you encounter maybe 50 people in a day.
Yeah.
And the majority of them want to tell you, hey, my cousin is such a big fan. They're telling you their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ability for them, those two, to remember those details is just, it's extraordinary.
Man. Extraordinary is the word. I don't know how they do it, man. I just put here to do what they do, man, and be the people that they are.
Obviously, when Dabo came to your hometown in 2004,
mm-hmm.
and your mom told you after that you were going to Clemson, even though you hadn't even been on a visit, things are a little different now in recruiting. I mean, they're going out to California. They're going to the Northeast, all that stuff. A lot of moms over the last 14 years have basically said the same thing that yours did that day. How incredible is it to see Clemson basically just picking who it wants in recruiting?
Man, it's phenomenal, bro. Like, I knew it would come to a point like this, but I didn't know like this quick. Like this is it's dope, bro. Because I mean, like my senior year, I remember like being interviewed by people, and when I was in, after I signed with Clemson, and being like, it was me, Triple, and LaDante Harris, and they were like, you guys are like the first people to come to Clemson from Alabama since like it was a long time. I can't remember when, but it was a super long time. And when I got to campus, people were like, yeah, interview me again because I was like an out-of-state guy, and it was like this huge thing because, they got me over Alabama and Auburn, and, and I remember that like it was yesterday. And now that's a normal occurrence, for them to get somebody from Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee or Connecticut or, Texas, or it happens on a regular basis. So it's one of those things where, you would hope Clemson would get to a point like this, but, it's one of those things that you can't really control, from looking in from the outside. But yeah, man, it's, when I was a kid growing up, the school that was doing that was Southern Cal, was USC. We would look at their roster and people would be from New Jersey, Florida, Montana. You're like, how are they getting these guys from all over these states? And they just had their reputation and that the success rate. So when you have success and then you have a phenomenal guy like a Dabo Swinney, man, and his supporting cast, like, because you don't get that much success with just a great head coach. He has to duplicate himself as well. And that's what he's done with his assistant coaches, is surrounded himself with a bunch of phenomenal guys as well. So when you have a supporting cast just as dope as you, man, I mean, it makes your job that much easier when you're successful already, and you go in and you're standing out amongst the crowd, because the rest of these guys are, I'm not going to say they're posters. I'm not going to be that mean. There's some other great coaches in the world. But the rest of those guys don't compare. I'll say that. So, I mean, it makes it a little, you're playing a different ball game, when you have great people and you're successful.
It's interesting you mentioned those Southern Cal teams. One of the jaw on the floor moments for me after the national championship this past season was talking with Brent Venables in the locker room afterward and talking about, holding that offense to 16 points. And he said that that Alabama offense was the best he had ever coached against, slightly better than the Matt Leinart offense that put up 55 against his Oklahoma defense in 2004, which that just floored me to hear. You held that crew to 16 points, one of the most amazing. I mean, as much as, that justified, I guess, credit that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Ross and the offensive guys got, boy, that defensive effort was It was just for the ages.
Yeah, man, it was one for the ages, definitely, man. I was there, so I got a chance to see it.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah, I got a chance to see it in person and, go down and talk to the guys and celebrate with them, man. And I was down there celebrating like I played 20 snaps, But, man, it's phenomenal, man, when you have that much success against a team that's, proven themselves for a decade. So, I mean, they're doing something right. They're doing a lot of things right.
A lot of things, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we have to acknowledge it, because when great things happen, you acknowledge it so people will continue doing them. So, yeah, man, it's refreshing to pull up Twitter and see, 5-star O-lineman committing a year before the season starts and all kind of crazy stuff. Like, it's refreshing to see that. We're playing a different ball game now.
Jock McKissic, I could talk to you for hours, but you got things to do, I'm sure. We'll have to have you back on at some point, for sure.
Absolutely.
And, man, we're all proud of you. Wonderful job. Just a very impressive story about you totally getting out of your football comfort zone and going and breaking those barriers. I know you're going to break plenty more.
Absolutely, man. That's the goal. Man. I appreciate you having me on, man. Like I said, anytime you need me, I'm available. At some point, I can find, even if I'm on set, I can find 20 or 30 minutes to squeeze in a conversation.
Well, I will hit you up again for sure. Thanks, Jock.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Man, that was so good. So good. What an inspirational story from Jock on chasing a dream, man, that he had start when he was 6 years old. Just what a remarkable journey, and it's going to continue. Sounds like he's really on the cusp of even bigger things. So thanks to him for sharing so much of his time, the spur of the moment. Thanks to our 4 sponsors for helping keep this thing going. Title sponsor, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in Greenville. Also in Greenville, Tandem Payment, Harris Flooring America in Anderson, and our old friends at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel. Last but most, thanks to you all for making this a part of your listening routine. More than 100,000 downloads so far since we started it in August. Really happy with that, so appreciate all the support from you all. All right, that'll do it. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Cheers.